I
One
know.
piece of advice I would have to say is regardless of how humble your beginnings, the
Mhm.
depth of your future is only limited by the creativity within the lines of demarcation that outline your imagination. So it's not about how you start, it is about how you finish. And as long as you know the power of your dreams, anything is possible and it will all work out in the end.
Well, beautifully said. Beautifully. Hello, hello. Welcome back to Just in Time for Story Time. My name is Justin Stephen Ford, your host and MC for about the next 30, 45 minutes. I'm the author of the diverse picture book, I See Me. And we're on a mission here today. We're on a mission to share inspiring stories that not only entertain, but that can change lives. And so this is really also a platform. So whether you're looking to find a great book for a kid, someone who's doing something amazing with their platform, within literacy, within diversity and inclusion, whether you want to be an author and learn how to write a book, this is a one-stop shop. So I'm not going to talk too much. Again, I'm Justin Stephen Ford, and you are just in time for story time. So with that being said, it is my honor, actually. So what I'm going to do first is read the intro. I'm going to intro our guest today and then have her come up. So Miss Atlanta 2024, Aaliyah Phillips, is from the historic township of Sharpsburg, Georgia. She is a senior at Columbus State University, majoring in elementary education. Aaliyah is the reigning 2024 Miss Atlanta for the Miss America organization. Her community service initiative is SPREAD, spreading literacy through reading. SPREAD is a three-pillar approach focusing on education, mentorship, and policy advocacy. Aaliyah is currently on the Read Like Miss Atlanta Literacy Tour. Please welcome to Just in Time for Story Time, Aaliyah Phillips, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. So before I even get started, we talked a little bit. Can you just teach me the wave really quick? Is that
There you go.
so graceful, so graceful. So
Thank
welcome
you.
to the show. That was a little intro. You're a very busy person. So can you
I
please
am.
more about yourself?
Of course. So, as you mentioned before, I'm a senior at Columbus State University, majoring in elementary education because I'm extremely passionate about making sure that every student has an equal opportunity to receive an excellent education so that they can become an exemplary citizen. I think that pursuing an education, whether it is primary school, secondary school, or either even higher education, is a privilege right now, but it should be a right. And that is kind of what inspired my platform, Spreading Literacy Through Reading, which is all about making sure that students are getting the resources necessary to be successful. I think that every student should have the right to read. And that's what brings me here today. I actually just got finished interning with U.S. Senator John Ossoff, which was amazing. And I've done a bunch of other internships as well, working hands-on with students, doing the grassroots work, making sure that students are understanding how to read, knowing the science behind reading so that they can find that intrinsic love for reading as well.
Beautiful. Well, you said that like Miss Atlanta or something. Like what? But what you said is so true, and it has so much importance. So let's go back a little bit to Miss Atlanta 2024. So how does that? This is all new for me. I know nothing about. The only thing I really know is Steve Harvey mispronouncing Columbia.
Right.
So what is? Can you give us a little bit of information behind Miss Atlanta?
Yes. So I am Miss Atlanta underneath the Miss America organization. I'm so humbled and honored to be wearing this sash and wearing this title and serving not only the students in Atlanta, but also students across the state of Georgia in America. But I think the one thing that makes the Miss America organization different than others is the scholarship opportunities and the opportunities to be able to exercise excellent life skills. I mean, the business acumen part of it, as well as the communication, interview skills, things like that are things that I will carry with me, lessons that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. And so that is kind of what brings me to Miss Atlanta. I've been able to grow so much, and this is an amazing opportunity that I don't take for granted.
Very nice. Very nice. So now in 2022, you served as a Breakthrough Atlanta Collaborative Education Fellow and you taught eighth grade English language arts to at risk youth in the Atlanta area. A question for you, I get. First off, how was that experience?
It was challenging, actually. It was
Okay.
my first time. Yeah, it was my
Mhm.
first time teaching ever. I've known since I was in kindergarten that I wanted to be a teacher because my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Cannon, had this magical way of making her students feel visible and valuable. And that is a characteristic that I want to carry with me into my classroom. But teaching eighth grade, it was a little challenging, but I'm a firm believer that nothing good ever comes easy. And so, working hands on with students, finding ways for learning to be educational and fun was definitely a challenge, but we made it and the students loved it. And we all just had a really good time learning from each other.
Absolutely. And I love that the learning, oftentimes children's books are not just for
Yeah.
the children, but they're also for the parents and they're also
Yes.
the ones reading the lessons that we're doing. So I appreciate you saying that. Oh, as much as they learned, you learned too.
Yes. Of course.
Now, speaking of learning, you plan to pursue your graduate and postgraduate degrees in education policy. Why is educational policy, I guess, important to you?
Whew, why isn't it important, I guess would be my question. I think it is extremely important for every student to be reflected in the policies that we make, considering the fact that these policies are nationwide. But I
Mm,
think too often we have students that are not being thought of or not being put into the conversation whenever we think of writing policies and going into action. So I think it's important that we continue to push for that equitable access to education and literacy initiative, making it accessible to everyone. And that's why it's important that we push for policies that are not only going to help students be successful in school, but successful in life.
mhm.
And all students at that.
I love that. That's well said because a lot of times we don't think about the policy standpoint. Sometimes
Right.
we think about the standpoint from or the perspective of I don't see myself in a book, which
Yeah,
equally is important to see yourself in the book, but also at the policy level. You know,
exactly.
are we important enough? Because it sends the message. Are we good enough? Are we being overlooked?
Yeah,
We're not in the policies.
exactly. And the thing is that I love to think of any situation like this. Anything that happens at the top is going to trickle down to the bottom. And so anything that we are doing on a nationwide level is going to trickle down to the state level and then to the local level. And so it's important that we are implementing policies that reflect all students, regardless of where they come from, what they look like, how much money they have, or their zip code.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wish I could watch the interview because I'm sitting here like, this is really good. But no, but thank you for what you're saying and what you're doing because it's crucial. We need more people to volunteer, more people to move into these spaces because I don't think this is a space that a lot of people know about or educated
Yeah,
on. And so I hope that this interview can educate, people on the importance of policy.
of course.
Okay, so November is Family Literacy Month, and you're kicking it off with the wait. We have this right here, the Read Like Miss Atlanta Literacy Tour. The Read Like Miss Atlanta Literacy Tour is to inspire all students to cultivate love for reading and to provide students with valuable resources for their classroom and home libraries. Please tell us more about this tour.
Where do I even begin? It has been such a whirlwind of emotions from just being so emotional that this is happening, that I'm so blessed and fortunate to have this platform to be able to help students and inspire them and motivate them as well. But also just being so excited. I've been able to secure 4 book sponsors, one being Miss Valerie Tompkins, who you were able to interview, yes. And then
Yes.
I was able to get Miss Kendra C. Thompson as well as Stanley Tucker, and last but not least, Fabian E. Ferguson. They have all been able to give me over 500 books, making sure that these students are getting books to take home. Because I think it's one thing to read to students, but it's another to give them a book to go home and read themselves. And so it just starts by going into these classrooms, talking to kids. But one message that I always leave them with is, it doesn't matter what you want to be in life, you'll never be able to achieve that dream if you don't pick up a book. And so it's important that you are doing everything you can to continue to read. I was at an event probably about 2 weeks ago, and somebody said something very interesting. They said, imagine not being able to turn on your light switch, right? And imagine the light switch being your ability to read, right? Imagine that light never turning on. Like, imagine that. But for us as readers, that light never turns off. But for people who can't read, it never turns on. So it's important that we're giving everybody, every age, regardless of where they come from, like I said before, an equal opportunity to have the right to read and the right to pursue an education.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How has the tour been going so far?
Oh, so amazing. I think the most rewarding part of the tour is making friends with the kids. I was gonna say is making friends with the students and reading to them, but I would definitely say just making them so happy. I think that's the most rewarding part, is giving them a book and seeing just the joy on their face and seeing what that one single gift that they didn't have before does for them that day and hopefully within their life.
Yeah. And that's so crucial. A lot of your partners that you mentioned write diverse books. And so
Yes.
I know that seeing children, and when I read, my book to children and their faces light up when they see themselves. And
Yes.
also to talk about kids that don't see themselves, to be able to relate to kids that don't look like themselves.
Exactly. It's all about exposure. One of my favorite quotes is by George M. Johnson. He said, "I did not know I existed until I realized someone like me existed before." And that all starts within these books. It all starts with books.
Yes, it does. And books, it's so true. We can talk forever about this, but books really they're fundamental. They're building blocks, and they really show us in these places and in these spaces. I did an interview with a New York Times bestselling Vanessa Brantley Newton. Brantley Newton. But I did an interview with her, and she talked about how no matter how old we get, no matter what we do, we all have a 5-year-old that still lives within us.
Yes.
And our job to protect that 5-year-old and to feed that 5-year-old and to, put that knowledge back into the world. So what you're saying is true. And thank you so much for doing this tour. So do you have different stops that the tour goes on, or how does that work?
Yes. We are so busy. I try to specifically target Title I schools,
Okay.
students who are disadvantaged, because I think those are the students that need the help the most, that need those positive interventions, those educational resources the most. And so that's kind of what I do, is go into those schools, talk to those kids, give them a motivational speech, but then I break it to them that you'll never be anything if you don't read. And then we read the book. We do also a project on the book. I also give them a spread kit. So my platform is called Spreading Literacy Through Reading. And in this spread kit, it has a bookmark in it to kind of motivate you to continue reading, to use this tool because it's a useful tool. And then it has a pencil in it. And then I also have a line reader for my students who have struggles kind of staying on the line and focusing in on words. I have that in there as well. And then I give them a book, and I think that's the most rewarding part, is just being able to give to students and serving as that beacon of light and that hope that they need in times of, struggle and challenge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, we talk about it, diversity and inclusion. We are kind of walking diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
But for you to walk in your presence, you walk into these classrooms, you're walking into these schools as an African-American woman.
Yes.
How was that received on the kids' faces?
Oh my goodness. They love it. They love it. I mean, as I mentioned before, we don't see ourselves and we don't know that we exist until we realize someone like us exists before. So it's important that we are serving as that inspiration and that person for kids to look up to and say, I can be just like her. She did it, so why can't I? And sometimes I think we, as minorities, feel as though we can't do something because we haven't seen ourselves reflected in that light and in that environment before. And so for me to be able to go into schools, especially in the Atlanta area where 87% of the students are African-American kids, it warms my heart because I'm able to serve in that kind of as that inspiration for them and that role model in that sense. But I want kids to be able to see me, especially little girls, to be able to see me and see that regardless of where they come from, regardless of how humble their beginnings, they can do anything as long as they believe in the power of their dreams.
Yeah. Believing in the power of your dreams.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but so powerful and so true. So I'm sure this is going to be a very difficult question, I imagine. What has been the most rewarding, and you might have touched on it already, but do you have any standout moments so far doing this work where you're just like, oh my gosh?
The most rewarding part, I would say, is just being able to give students a book to take home. I think it's, as I mentioned before, it's one thing to read to students, but it's another to give them a book to read on their own, and being able to partner with my amazing book sponsors and these authors that truly believe in my platform and believe in the students of Atlanta and across the state of Georgia. It truly warms my heart, and it is such a rewarding feeling. It really is, especially when these students are being able to see themselves in the pages that I turn.
Oh my gosh. And there's nothing like that. There's nothing like,
Exactly.
little kids seeing themselves in STEM as engineers, as mathematicians, as
Yes.
all of these things that you just don't normally see us, but that's changing. And
Yep.
we're changing it. We're changing.
Mm-hmm.
One piece of advice you would give to boys and girls.
One piece of advice I would have to say is, regardless of how humble your beginnings, the depth of your future is only limited by the creativity within the lines of demarcation that outline your imagination. So it's not about how you start, it is about how you finish. And as long as you know the power of your dreams, anything is possible, and it will all work out in the end.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Aaliyah, thank you so much for coming on Just in Time for Storytime.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Will you come back? Will you come back?
Of course. Yes, because I'll give you a little sneak peek, but I am working on something myself, and I'll just point to what it is. So
Wait a minute. Can we talk about that or not yet?
Not yet. I don't want to share too much.
Well, you have to give us the exclusive.
I'm sorry?
You have to give us Just in Time for Storytime the exclusive.
I will. I will.
Okay. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining, guys. Let everybody know where they can find you again.
You can find me on Instagram at Miss Atlanta GA, as well as Miss Atlanta on Facebook.
So if somebody wants to get to join the tour, can they contact you that way?
Yes, they can. Also, I've been able to partner with a bunch of other authors as well who are going to jump on my spring tour. So that's pretty cool as well. So yes, I'm looking for more book sponsors if anyone wants to join.
Okay, guys, Miss Atlanta GA. That's where you're going to go to get more information. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Like I said, everyone, make sure you hit those buttons. Follow Aaliyah. Click like, subscribe here, because we are constantly having amazing people doing amazing things to promote children's literacy, diversity, and inclusion, and just to make the world a little bit of a better place. So until next time, I'm Justin Stephen Ford. Tell them your name.
I'm Aaliyah Phillips, Miss Atlanta.
Miss Atlanta, and you were just in time for story time. Take care, guys.